Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is me, Jordan Young, and this is another Boston Certified Hood Classic No Cap on God. Today we're going to be having a little bit of a sneaky sneaker discussion around Travis Scott and whether or not the bro has fallen off or has he just designed some crap shoes. But before we do, I wanted to just quickly explain to you guys out there, my lovely devout subscribers, why I haven't been quite as regular with the uploads of late. It's because I've started a second channel, which is all about golf. So if you are interested in golf, whether it's golf fashion, golf sneakers, playing golf, go ahead and subscribe to my second channel. I really would appreciate it. We're also having some work done on the house at the moment, so everything's a little bit chaotic and all over the place, but hopefully as of next week, I'll be able to get back up with my regular upload clips. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me as I devote a little bit of extra attention to the second channel and just kind of get through what I'm doing at home here. But today we've got this little cheeky discussion around Travis Scott. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because we had the Jumpman Jacks released the other day, the bright cactus colorway, and they sat around on some websites here in the UK in a few different sizes. I entered into 1 or 2 raffles myself for them, but to be honest, I'd even forgotten that I had entered in the draw for them. I slept on the Nike sneakers app, and when I lost the raffles, bro, I did not even care. And so I was wondering whether or not this was symptomatic of me not really liking the shoes or me not really giving an F about Travis Scott these days, and so let's talk about it. I think to paint a little bit of context around this discussion, it's important to remember just how influential Travis Scott has been in the sneaker game. You could argue he's been the most influential celebrity collaborator anybody has had in sneakers for like the past 10 years. He's got an entire effect named after him, which you could argue he somewhat inherited from Yeezy. The Ye effect, the Travis effect, you guys know how it works. Think about 10 years ago, Kanye would wear an item of clothing and then that item of clothing would become hyper trendy for the next 6 or 8 months or whatever. Think about Travis Scott. He starts wearing Nike SB Dunks, posting them on his IG, and people that weren't into SB Dunks are now all of a sudden into SB Dunks, and that whole market just completely blows up. He helped massively popularize the Air Jordan 1 High with his collab, Jordan 1 Lows especially with his collabs. And because people are so fanatical about him and his music and his fashion, people will buy anything that has his name on it, even if that same item is an absolute hunk of crap. And so with that context in mind, let's talk about some of the sneakers that he's released over the past year and how they've done. First of all, you have these bright cactus joints that dropped the other day, and if you're like me, you weren't really that impressed by them, you weren't really too fussed about them, and if you did miss out on them, you were probably almost thankful because these things are running a pretty penny at close to like 200 bucks or something like that. The other shoe that we've had so far from him this year is the Zoom Field Jacks in the light chocolate colorway. Now you would have thought Travis Scott plus chocolate plus Nike equals a knockout success, but these things are currently reselling in some places for under retail. If you go back to the back end of last year, we had the Jordan 1 Low Velvet Browns, which is probably his worst Jordan 1 Low colorway to date. If you think about all of the color combinations that they could have put on a Jordan 1 Low to make it hot, they opted out of that and decided to go for these absolute basic brown jobbies. And then we've got the Jumpman Jacks in the mocha colorway, which, yeah, nice colorway, really wearable shoe, but these things are purchasable on places like StockX for basically the retail price. You have to go back to the medium olives, in my opinion, to find a Travis Scott sneaker release that pretty much everybody was clamoring for, desperate to get, and happy as hell to get if they managed to cop for retail. This is a far cry from the glory days of shoes like the Fragment Lows or the Jordan 4s or the Mocha Highs. And so you could argue he's on a little bit of a skid right now, but is it down to his influence, or is it down to his designs, or is it down to both? I personally think that it is a little bit of both. I think the Jumpman Jacks, from a design aesthetic standpoint, is a pretty average shoe. This to me looks like the type of shoe that he maybe found a sketch of when he was digging around in the Nike archives one day. This really does look like a tinker shoe. It looks like a shoe that we've seen before. There isn't enough new features in it to really make it stand out as a new design. It kind of looks like a bit of a Frankenstein of some late 80s tinker shoes. I think when you couple this together with the fact that these aren't really that comfortable, simple, and they're relying on a lot of design language that has been and gone in terms of trending in the recent past, this design could be considered a bit of a flop. When it comes to the field jacks, this sneaker falls prey to the same suite of problems, in my opinion. This is another sneaker that looks like it's come out of the archives of Nike somewhere. There's some familiar shapes, and there's an open question as to what this shoe is all about. What's it designed to do? This was, I think, originally conceived to be an athletic shoe, maybe made for baseball or softball or something like that, hence the rugged traction pattern in the outsole and the strap for extra security. It almost, to me, looks a bit more like a golf shoe, which, you know, I'd be into. But as a practical shoe to wear every day, doesn't seem to be a particularly wearable shoe. It doesn't seem to cross over into streetwear that effectively. So I think you could make a case that Travis Scott's own signature shoes are just shit. Now, when it comes to Travis himself, I don't know. I tend to think that maybe the same young men that were hyper fanatical about him 4 or 5 years ago have quite simply just grown up a little bit. I think the sneaker game has changed a lot as well in the past 5 years, where you've had this dispersal of people going to check out different types of brands and styles and trends. When Travis was on top, everyone was very much Nike and very much vintage basketball, whereas nowadays everybody's all over the place. And I think the fact that the sneaker resale market has massively fallen off, the normalization of paying over the odds for a limited pair of sneakers has gone. You can't discount the proliferation of reps as well. A lot of people out there that like this sneaker simply for the aesthetic or the colorway are only going to be too happy to find a place where they can get a cheap pair of knockoffs to rock, rather than having to go onto the resale market and pay, you know, $1 or $2 grand for a pair of these. And so in order to explain this recent changing of the tide in terms of Travis Scott sneakers coming out and not even selling out instantaneously, barely reselling in some cases, I think it is really down to a couple of factors. One, these designs that he's come up with aren't really hitting like that, and two, a lot of people are just over Travis Scott sneakers in general and maybe a little bit over him. Now, does this mean that Travis Scott sneakers in general moving forward are going to be easy to cop? No, of course it doesn't mean that. There are still going to be people out there that are going to buy a Travis Scott sneaker no matter what. There are still going to be speculators out there that are going to want to hedge their bets that maybe the sneaker takes off and has great resale value. And I think when it comes to shoes like the upcoming Fragments Travis Scott 1 collaboration, that's going to be a big hit, no doubt. The hype of old with Travis Scott is definitely done, and we're into this new era. So the question is, what do you guys think? Are you guys still rocking with Travis Scott sneakers, or have you moved on? I feel like for a lot of people these days, it's retail or busts, and the need to pay resale isn't certainly what it used to be with regard to his sneakers. So I'd be interested in hearing your guys' opinions down below. Do you think that Travis Scott's influence has fallen off a little bit? Do you think his designs are good? Do you think they're bad? Feel free to let me know down below. And as always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video. Go and subscribe to my other channel, really would appreciate that. And I will see you tomorrow for our weekly sneaker news recap video. Until then, take care and peace out.